Started.
All right, so hello Year 8. Welcome to a demonstration of the chemical testing, food chemical testing, and as you know in class we have already done the test for starch, we've tested for glucose, and today what we're going to do is we're going to do some further tests to indicate, I'm going to show you the tests of how we can determine whether a particular chemical is in a food. So today what I'm going to do is test for protein. All right, so from your research you should know that proteins are made up of building blocks called amino acids. So how do we test for proteins? Okay, so look, two test tubes. First test tube, I'm going to put a little bit of water in. That's going to be my control test tube. Okay, control test tube in here. To the second one, I'm going to add some gelatin. All right, gelatin is a protein. Okay, protein based. You can get it's basically you can get some sort of protein based if you mix stirred up egg whites or anything like that. That's full of protein. I'm going to use gelatin. Gelatin, you find, where do we find? We can use it in cakes, not cakes, you can buy it at the shops for cooking, for certain things. But anyway, so here we have our gelatin. So what I'm going to add to this is I'm going to add some biuretes. Biuretes, which is a chemical to test for proteins. So I'm going to put to my control, I'm going to add some biuretes to it. Biuretes solution, you can see there's really no change. The biuretes solution, it's sort of like a bluish colour. Right, it's a very, very faint bluish colour, but if I put that up there, I'll put it in, put a few drops in. Oh, what's happening there? I'll drop it a little bit more in. Okay, so a little bit more. It really doesn't take that long to change, but I'll put a little bit more in than that. There we go. Must be a bit weak. Must be a bit weak. Now we can see that lovely colour there. Okay, so it's like a purpley colour. All right, so there's that purpley mauve colour. That's a positive indicator for proteins. So I'd like you to pause now and write down your results. Okay, so we're going to move on to now looking at our next test. The next test that we're going to be doing is a test which tests for salts. As we know, salts are commonly found in many foods, and salt is a preservative. It's a preservative which is used to keep things so they're keeping them in date. But what we're going to use here now is I'm going to put some salt. All right, I'll put some salt into some water already. So I'm going to put some salt into here, salty water, and all right, put that little bit of salt in there. Just have some water as well as our control. All right, so water. I should probably use distilled water because distilled water is the water which actually is all the minerals are taken out of the tap water. So distilled water is probably the better one to use because there could still be salts in this. So I should have actually used distilled water, but never mind. So to this, I'm going to add some silver nitrate. Silver nitrate is, I'll put this silver nitrate into the, or you can probably, I can see anyway from here, it's already started to go cloudy white. All right. Why is it gone cloudy? Oh, look at that, lovely, lovely. All right, so if I was to do that with distilled water, which I can, I don't know whether I've got any here at the moment, but I would have some maybe in the back there. Hello, there's some distilled water. Hold on. Okay, distilled water, here we are. Okay, so distilled water, let's do it again with some distilled water. So this time, let's get some distilled water going. So I'll try this now with some distilled water and see whether the silver nitrate changes the distilled water. I'm filming. So silver nitrate. So here we go. We're going to put a little bit of silver nitrate in, okay, into the distilled water. And you can see there it hasn't changed. Why hasn't it changed? Because the distilled water is doesn't have salts in it because it's still deionized the distilled water. The ions, the salt ions have been pulled out or been stripped out. Much like you can buy, where do you buy this distilled water from? You buy it down at the shops, you can buy it at the supermarket, and it's really, really good stuff because if you don't put it in your irons, what happens is if your mum and dad have got irons at home, which they do, they iron your clothes, they put that into the distilled water into the iron, and it stops the iron from getting damaged, all right? Because if you put just normal tap water into your iron, what happens is it corrodes up, get lots of salts in the water and into the metal, and it corrodes the iron. So, still water. So here's my salt solution. I'm going to put the silver nitrate in, and here we go. Oh, look at that! Look at that! Look how cloudy white that's gone. All right, compare that to the control. You can see there, cloudy white. So the silver nitrate has reacted with the salt. So I like pause this video now, and I'm going to get you to write down your results in a table, like we did with the previous results. Yeah, and we'll see you in a sec. Okay, so next test we're going to do is test for fats and oils, otherwise known as lipids. Group name fats and lipid is a group name for fats and oils. Fats we find in animals, oils we find in plants. So what do we do here? Well, what we do is the test for fats and oils. We use, we've all been down to the beach. On those nice sunny days, you go down the beach and you buy some fish and chips, and you go down to the beach, and you ever notice the paper when you unwrap your fish and your chips, and you look at it and think, oh yeah, it looks like it's got liquid or something in it. Well, and if you leave the fish and chips, you eat your fish and chips, and you notice the paper and it doesn't dry out. It stays sort of this sort of like a liquid's on it. Well, that liquid is oil. And a common test we use for fats and oils, it's as simple as a little bit of brown paper. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to firstly put a drop of water onto, I can get a drop of water, a couple of drops of water onto the paper. Okay, you can see that. Well, I'll just wet it like that. You can see that, yeah. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the same thing, but this time I'm going to use maybe some oil. I'm going to use some oil this time. So I'll get my oil, and I'll put some oil. Actually, I'll put some oil into here. That's what I'll do. A little bit of oil in there. Go. And get a little bit of oil out of the ship there. And here we go. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a drop of oil onto this brown paper, and I'm just going to let it just sit there for a bit. And I'll bring it over and I'll show you what's going on. See that? Now, even when that oil sort of dries up a bit, when that oil dries up, you can actually see that it sort of lets light through a fair bit. It lets light through, all right? We call that a translucent spot, all right? It's called a translucent spot. So, a positive test for fats and oils is when brown paper will turn brown paper, gives a transparent spot onto brown paper. All right, so that's our positive test for fats and oils. All right, I'm going to get you now just to pause your video now and write down those results in that table. Thank you. Camera. Do I stop there?